Hi there, come on in. We're back from 4 days of the deer opener. Cameraman John Ford, my son Zach and I were up here around Crystal Falls in the Upper Peninsula. Kathy Beitler and camerawoman Abby Burke were down here in a southern Michigan woodlot, and they went up to the buck poles at Houghton Lake opening evening. The opener to many hunters was a disappointment, actually. It wasn't that bad. Lots of people got deer, but it wasn't as good as I and most other hunters expected. I'm going to ask you later in the show to write in and tell me your opinion. So stick around. I'm Fred Trost. It's time for opening day on Michigan Outdoors. The clouds are pink in the sky, the few clouds that there are. It's a very clear morning here in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Opening day of firearm deer season 1990. We have a lot of optimism. The wind, there isn't any wind yet, but it's supposed to be blowing from the south. Temperatures in the 50s later this morning, so we'll be shedding all this heavy clothing we're wearing. We're here on a tract of private land that's surrounded by state land. It's been logged off recently. Different parts of it in previous years, so it's great habitat, lots of deer sign. Conditions look perfect. So we're gonna hunker down here and see if we can't see some deer here in the next half hour, 45 minutes. This should have been a good morning spot, in fact, an excellent one. The game vane showed the light breeze was blowing our scent away from where the deer were likely to come from. In the morning light, we spotted a doe and a fawn passing 50 yards from our blind. Yeah, there's two of them there. Doe and a fawn. That's 4 deer in the last 15, 20 minutes. They're moving. The 3 fawns and 1 doe we saw that morning were the only ones that moved close to us, and it wasn't until the next day that we finally saw a buck in this area, a forkhorn that was already wearing a tag. So you got the deer?
Yes, sir.
And you're Brent?
Brent Gatecliff.
And you're?
Jim Riggs.
Jim Riggs. Glad to meet you, Jim. Now, you must have the property back there.
Yes, we sure do.
120 acres.
120 acres. Been coming up here for about, 20 years, off and on. My brother-in-law's been coming up for at least that long, maybe 25 years.
Huh.
I've been hunting back here all the time. Enjoying it very much.
Now, somebody back in your family bought 120 acres of land?
Yeah, my dad brought that.
Just for hunting?
Just for hunting.
So once a year you come up and look at it?
Once a year we come up and look at it and enjoyed it ever since.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, this is a nice little 4-point. Is that the biggest buck taken so far from your...
This year, yep.
So far.
Got up yesterday late, so first morning in the woods. Missed opening morning, but...
You missed it?
Yep. We got here for this morning, just in time, though, it looks like.
Now, hold it. You got to give some explanation. My audience is not going to buy this. Missing opening morning, owning the hunting land up here.
Well, I flew up late 14th from New York back, temporary position out there, and we drove up opening morning and got here in the woods about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon and out this morning.
I have nightmares about missing opening morning, getting up late. That's terrible.
They were nice enough to wait for me to come back.
That's great.
Yep.
The Riggs hunting camp hadn't gotten many deer in their first 20 years on this woodland. It's just been the past 5 years that their camp has had much success. We decided to move from this wooded area to a small 5-acre field on Jimmy Butler's potato farm that had always been a great afternoon spot for deer. As we walked in on the afternoon of opening day, 1 doe was feeding at the end of the field. We hoped that this would be the start of some real deer hunting success. She looking at us? Can you tell, John?
Yeah, she's looking at us now.
I think that's the only one in the field.
Yeah, it's the only one I see.
Jimmy Butler told us that he didn't think there were as many deer in this area as last year, but we had a new toy to try this season, a deer decoy that we heard works amazingly well.
We tried it the first afternoon with some interesting results on a half dozen does and fawns. On the second day, we relocated the decoy and our blind.
Well, that old girl might look familiar. That's our decoy out in the field. This is the same field, except we're on the south side of it. Now, the wind is coming from the west, the northwest. We thought we'd be on this side of the field. The deer tend to come out of that corner there. In fact, virtually everyone we've seen has come out of that corner. You know, a lot of people ask me, they say, Fred, how do you know which way your scent is blowing? Aha! A smoke bomb. Now we'll throw that out there and see. Oh yes, the wind is blowing from the west. Swirls a little bit, but basically it carries our scent away. So you can see where the decoy is out there. We're in no danger of being winded by the deer, at least where we figure they're going to come from. John, this, of all the places we've been, this is the catbird seat.
You said it now. No.
I said it, now I ruined it. But this is what we've been looking for. I think this is the best we get.
It was an ideal blind, to say the least, with ideal conditions. And here's one of the fawns that wandered in. The ones that came into the field all exhibited the same basic response to the decoy, hesitating, cautious, but totally fascinated by this deer that wouldn't move.
Oh, this is hysterical.
It was amusing to see how does and fawns tried to get a response from the decoy, totally absorbed in the decoy and not looking our direction. And it was funny how all the deer continually looked the same direction the decoy appeared to be looking.
Look at that. Oh, too much. Well, that walked all around that decoy that we had been touching. Those fawns keep looking back at the decoy and where the decoy is looking. It's going back again, but it walked all around it, walked downwind from it. Apparently didn't smell where we had touched. They're just fixated on that decoy. I'd like to see what a buck does.
Only 2 fawns had come into this field the afternoon of the second day, but after sunset, when it was almost too dark to videotape, a small spike buck stepped into the field and walked right to the decoy. We'll show you how deer react to decoys on a future show, as well as the massive antlers from this buck, which I took a few seconds later. Speaking of massive antlers, here are the 2 biggest bucks we came across from the area we were hunting. Wouldn't you know that the guy to get the biggest deer up here at the Jimmy Butler farm is Jimmy Butler, and he didn't even get on his farm? Did you, Jim?
No, not exactly.
How come you don't hunt your farm like the rest of us?
Too many hunters.
How far away from your place was this buck?
Oh, about 5 or 6 miles.
And it was way back in the swamp?
Quite a ways back in.
You always like to hunt way back there where nobody else is.
Well, I try to get into areas where there's no human pressure, and I just like to walk and sneak, still hunt, and just sit occasionally and sit for a half hour or so and get up and pussyfoot around, and that's how I like to rifle hunt.
Now, is that the story on this buck?
Yes. I actually shot the deer at 10 after 12. It's about the 3rd or 4th time that I sat down, and on this occasion I sat down to watch. Well, I found this area where there were 3 or 4 scrapes, and I thought it was a good spot to watch for a while. And I sat there for 15, 20 minutes, and I thought I'd eat my lunch. So I ate my lunch, and I was just sitting there enjoying the day, and the sun was out. It was bright, and it was warm, and
You know what he's getting to, don't you, Phil?
and I was getting a little sleepy, so I thought I would just kind of lean back and take a little snooze. And
You actually zonked?
I believe so.
That's great.
And I don't know how long I was snoozing, but in the process there of sleeping, I managed to hear a twig break. And when I heard it break, I jumped up like that, and there 20 yards in front of me was the buck with his nose to the ground, and he was skirting his scrapes there. And I didn't even have time to think. I just reacted. I raised the gun and got him in my sights and fired.
That's amazing.
and I happened to look out.
So you go all the way back into these swamps and snooze?
Well, it was, it was 12 o'clock. It was time for my nap.
Well, that's a great story. This buck is a 9-point buck, 17 and 3/4 inch spread.
Right.
We can still work you into the book, though.
Well,
I mean, because Jimmy Butler, the man who has a farm up here that we hunt. Now, the second place contender here for the Butler racks. Phil, what's
Yes.
the story on yours?
I was just getting a little bored with sitting so long, so I got up, walked over to these slashings, and I could hear something coming through the slashings. And pretty soon then I saw him, and I just raised the gun and took a shot.
And it was simple.
Yeah, it was
So you
kinda
got
simple.
an 8-point.
Yes.
Is this the biggest buck you've ever gotten?
No, I got a 10-pointer back in 1983.
Where
Nice
was that?
deer. Up around Kalkaska.
Oh, well, how do you like hunting in the UP?
I love it.
How come?
Never go in the lower.
How come?
Beautiful country.
Definitely getting away
Just-
from it all.
Yeah, and it's pretty up here. I like
Yeah,
it.
and of course Jimmy gets away from it all too. He never
Yeah.
hunts on his own place. Well, that's great. 2 big racks to come off of the Butler farm here in the Upper Peninsula. That's why we come up here. Now I may have seen one like this 2 years ago.
yeah, I kind of think you let it slip past.
I let it slip past, but they're up here, and that's our report from the UP. Jimmy, congratulations on
you,
that.
Fred.
You too, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred.
Well, cameraman John Ford, my son Zach, and I did that report from up here in Iron County, where we spent 4 days and didn't see nearly the deer we thought we would. Kathy Beitler and Abby Burke were down here in southern Michigan, where they were a little disappointed in the opener, too. Here's Kathy's report.
Well, it's opening day, 1990. We're getting ready here to go out in the woods. The conditions here are considerably different than they have been in years past. We've got 55-degree weather coming, well, actually 65-degree weather coming, and no snow, no rain. Bob, what do you think it's going to do to our hunting today?
Make it enjoyable.
Yeah, I think so, too. Do you think they'll be moving much more or less, or
No, it won't make any difference.
not to the deer?
Nope.
Opening day for Kathy Beitler and her husband Bob began before dawn in a southern Michigan woodlot.
The wind is in our favor. It's coming right out of the south, right where I'm facing. All that shooting to the south usually brings those deer this way. They'll probably come through about 80 miles an hour.
When a deer barreled by, Abby missed it with the camera, and Kathy missed it too.
I think I shot right over the top. They're heading back south. They'll come back around.
Kathy heard far fewer shots on this opening day than in the past 2 years, but the conditions didn't look that bad at all. In the October bow season, deer moved around in the balmy weather. Nobody made excuses for them. But even veteran bow hunter and DNR biologist Pete Squibb wondered if the heat wasn't keeping the deer down. He wasn't seeing them either.
For this warm weather, what do you think it's going to do for the deer, and particularly deer hunters?
Well, it's going to be great for the deer hunters because it's right now it must be 50 degrees almost, and in another hour it's going to be 60 plus, and people are going to be able to sit almost forever.
Yeah, but they won't be moving around chasing deer around, will they?
And they probably won't see deer because the deer are going to be doing the same thing. They've got their winter coats on now. They're insulated. They're warm. They're not going to be out making themselves hot if they don't have to. So they're going to be tucked away for the day. And the only thing that's going to get them moving is hunters. And hunters aren't going to be out moving around either. So I would guess today and probably tomorrow it's going to be a little dull.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I wonder if maybe when these hunters go in for lunch, if they do that, would be a good time to just stay right here.
Yes, today it will definitely be. Whenever anybody moves, they're going to be moving deer around.
And that's what we're going to need.
Yes, right.
Okay, sounds good. Well, you headed off to a new blind, you say?
Yep, I'm going to head over by my house and see what's over there today.
Aha, you're giving up on these woods, huh?
Yes.
Well, good luck to you.
Okay, we'll see you, Kath.
Okay. We have about 60-degree weather, and so it's just kind of keeping everything pretty tight. We're in woods that have basically hardwoods with a couple oaks, some popple, basically. And I've been sitting all morning on what we call the hump. And it's actually quite a good little elevation here. gives me kind of an advantage than just walking through the woods or just sitting on level ground. I've seen quite a few deer from here in years past, and everybody kind of wants to hunt this hump, but it's pretty much mine. We have to use shotguns down here. I've got a 12 gauge Mossberg, and I put a sight on it this year. I've never shot with a scope before, and we finally got one that will actually fit up close enough to where I can see through it and not just see all black. And I was pretty impressed. I'm now waiting for some deer to come through so I can actually use it. It's basically built for smaller people, and that's great.
Well, dripping wet, Kathy Beitler stands 4'11", which means she has to shop around for guns, boots, and outdoor clothing, but she's found what she needs to be active and comfortable outdoors. Late in the day, Kathy and our camera woman producer, Abby Burke, headed north to Houghton Lake to what turned out to be Women's Night at the Buck Poles.
Here we are, opening night 1990 at Lenny's, and looks like we've got quite a few bucks on the pole. I was kind of surprised to see this many, especially with this warm weather. Everybody said it was about 50, 60 degrees here also, and I kind of worried about the meat. But then we got here, and there was some actually here, and I think we're going to interview the person that brought the first deer in, and it's a lady. Congratulations, Mindy.
Thank you.
How many years have you been hunting?
3.
3 years.
First.
And this is your first deer? This is super. How long did it take you to get it?
I shot it at about 7 o'clock this morning, as soon as it was light enough to see horns.
Oh, is this the first one you saw come running through? Is it really?
It was playing around, and I was like, I knew it was a buck, but I couldn't see horns, and I wasn't going to shoot it till I saw horns. And then it took me 20 minutes to decide if I saw horns or not, so then when I did, I shot it.
You did a great job. We're very proud of you.
While Houghton Lake's Mindy Hines 4-point hung on Lenny's buck pole, next door at Tuck's, Kathy found Wanda Snyder from Brighton, who had gotten 2 bucks early that morning.
So we wandered over here and we asked, well, who got the first deer? And guess who? Wanda. Another lady. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You did very, very good, you know.
Oh, I'm very happy about it. I'm ecstatic. I love it.
And you said it was a 6-point?
I got a spike this morning and a 6-point about 9:45.
And neither one of them are here.
They're not here because it was too warm out, so I had put them in a cooler.
I think it's a very good idea.
I didn't want to lose the meat.
Yeah, that's good. Tell me about it.
Well, the spike came in and it kind of caught me off guard, and it just came in slow, and I was in this funny looking blind and I had to like lean sideways to get it, and I just shot it. The first shot, got it dead, fell right down.
Good
I
job.
loved it. And the 6-pointer, that was a real freaky one because it came running right by me, and I thought, oh geez, I'm gonna miss it, and I got it.
You shot on a run.
Yep.
Super. Good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The guys all envied Wanda's bucks, as well as the 11-point taken by Ron Richards from Dearborn Heights.
We heard a lot of yelling a few minutes ago, and we walked over here, and it's your deer.
Yes, it is.
Tell me about it. How big is it?
It's either 11 or a 10. I don't know really how they're going to rate it, but it's a good 10-pointer, yeah.
When did you get him?
8:45 this morning. Just when the sun was coming up, there was a little bit of fog, and just turned my head to the right there, and I just seen a body flash right there, and started walking right up on me. His head went down, and I took my first shot and dropped it right there.
Then Don Tuck had a surprise announcement about Houghton Lake's famous Tuck's buck pole.
Well, we're on our 14th year, and we've hung approximately 800 deer, and I think this will be our last year. I think we're going to turn our buck pole over to somebody else, and I think I'm going to retire.
Well, I hope you enjoy it. I think you will.
So.
The buck pole has really been looked forward to by a whole lot of hunters.
Yeah. It's been a good thing for the community, I think.
You've done a terrific job.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm glad you've been here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The number of bucks hanging on buck poles around the state was down this year, partly because of the weather, but DNR wildlife pathologist Steve Schmidt says the deer numbers were probably lower to begin with.
Well, Steve, you opened just a few minutes ago, and I've seen quite a few cars here already. How does this compare to last year?
Well, it's too early to tell, but it looks like it's going to be fairly favorable. Yesterday I was at Rose Lake, and we checked 48 deer yesterday, and then a year ago we checked 46. So we're right on. You know,
It is up a little bit.
well, you know, in that one specific area. Again, this opener was much nicer weather, so the hunters are going to stay out a little bit longer. Last year, as you remember, was a miserable opener. We probably have fewer deer out there this year, but if the weather holds and the hunters stay out there, the kill should be a good one.
Well, the numbers aren't in yet on deer season 1990. The predictions were high, but from our experience in the Upper Peninsula and Kathy Beitler's experience in the southern farm country and what we've heard from hunters everywhere in between, deer numbers may not have been as high as the DNR's estimated. Back in the 1960s, after the DNR's first 2 elk seasons, it was obvious that the DNR overestimated the size of the elk herd. Far too many were harvested by hunters. Maybe more deer have been taken than I'm aware of, but nobody I know has seen nearly as many deer as they saw last year. And I have information about gross misuse of block permits. I know our hunting award entries for October for deer are way down. Our calls for big bucks for big buck night, way down from last year. Makes me wonder, has our DNR director been playing some election year politics with this estimate of a 1.8 million deer in our herd? Is it time to review DNR census techniques and maybe DNR management? If you have an opinion based on your experience this deer season, write to me. Our address is coming up right after this great venison recipe with Kathy Beitler.
We received an excellent venison roast recipe from Betty Wohlert, and it's a stuffed venison roast, and it is delicious.
No, it's incredibly delicious,
It
Kath. I know
is.
how this ends up. I remember. This is stupendous.
You're going to soak the roast first overnight in baking soda and water.
Baking soda?
Right. Now
Why?
that does 2 things. It tenderizes it, and it takes what some people consider the wild game taste out.
Well, I thought vinegar or salt were the... I've never heard of
Same
baking
thing,
soda.
right. But baking soda will actually just tenderize it just a little bit more. And then you're going to make a stuffing out of onion and bacon, kielbasa, and
green pepper.
Right. And just
Only those 4 things?
That's it. And it's amazing how little ingredients really make this taste good.
Well,
you can
there's
make
no-
a pocket in
It's
the meat.
stuffing, but there's no like bread in
Right.
it or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Gonna make a pocket in the roast and then tie it all together. And you do want to tie it quite securely because once the kielbasa starts cooking and the bacon, it will tend to swell and it will fall out.
Well, this would be good for, say, shoulder meat.
Oh,
or,
anything.
Well, any part that you can get major chunks, like off of the back leg, the way I bone out deer.
Right, or even 2 fillets. You could even take 2 pieces of meat and put the stuffing in and then tie them together.
Like loin roast.
Right, exactly. Then you want to salt and pepper it and then just wrap it up tightly to keep all the juices in and keep it from drying out. And it goes in the oven.
How long do you bake it?
Only about an hour. You don't want to overcook it.
So this should be tender and juicy. Pat McGuire is our celebrity taste tester. Of course, he's a judge in our wild game cooking contest. He helps pick out the recipes that go on the show. He has Papa Bear's restaurant in Luzerne and several restaurants in Saginaw. Always interesting to hear a chef's perspective.
I like the kielbasa, the flavor it's giving the meat. You know, the grease is coming out from the kielbasa as it cooks.
It gives it a smoky flavor like it's been on a grill
yeah, it does.
in the oven.
Oh yeah, this is great. Just I don't even need ketchup with this. This is the way to go.
You know, a lot of people don't know that. You do like ketchup
Oh
on
yeah.
a lot of things.
Yeah. I
So
sleep
do
with
I.
a bottle every night. Yeah.
But this, you know, I like it. That stuffing is okay, but I like the meat that's next to the stuffing, without the stuffing on it.
Sure, you
So-
want a flavor. You want the flavor from the stuffing.
Oh, that's really
Without
good.
being overpowering.
Right. That's a nice piece of meat too.
Yeah, it was very good.
It's a good piece.
You know where this came from? The chef made that.
Very expensive piece of meat.
This is our Emmy Award-winning editor of the show, Abby Burke. In fact, we're going to send her out on the road again. Get some more of this, thanks to Abs.
I thought I found a piece of front fender right here.
But I tell you, it is great.
It was delicious.
When a chef like Pat McGuire gives it his A-OK, you know the recipe is fit for a restaurant. I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't like this stuffed venison roast, even if you made it with beef or pork. Well, the DNR estimated that the deer herd this season would be down about 10%. Now, I mean, I might be wrong, but from what I've heard and from what I've seen, the numbers are down a lot more than that. What was your experience? Write to me and tell me. Above all, this weekend, when you get outdoors, have a safe weekend so you can be back next week and join us. Good luck.
What did you think about the weather down here?
It was warm.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad though.
And have you been letting him hang all day?
No. I packed him with snow on the outside and covered him with a tarp, so he's real close.
How long you been hunting?
10 years.
Is your first buck?
No, third.
Oh, all right. Is your biggest one?
Yeah, it is.
Gonna have him mounted?
Oh, yeah. I have to do that.
Good. How much did he weigh?
I don't know. I haven't put him on scale yet. I'd say
He looks
maybe-
big-bodied.
I'd say about 165, 170, somewhere around there.
Well, good.
Real nice deer.
Did a real good job.
Thank you.